Test. Yeah, let me test this mic real quick.
Alright, I'm gonna
Test 1 2 3 1 2 3. Check.
and then bring it down back.
Cam, do you hear me? Test 1 2 3. Check.
Oh yeah, I see levels.
Okay. He's walking now. Good morning. Whenever you are ready, Sarge. He's getting up here now. Stand by 1 second for me, Sarge. You ready, Cam? Go ahead, Sarge.
All right, good morning. I'm Sergeant Ed Cayenne, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit. At approximately 1:30 a.m., JSO officers responded to the 3500 block of Kingston Street in reference to a person who had been shot. Upon the arrival of officers, along with personnel with the Jacksonville Fire Rescue Department, they located an unidentified male inside of a residence suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Fire rescue personnel pronounced that individual deceased on scene. The crime scene was secured and the homicide unit was notified. At this time, we have our homicide detectives, our crime scene investigators, along with our partners from the State Attorney's Office on scene conducting their initial investigation. At this early stage of the investigation, we are working quickly to positively identify the victim, as well as canvassing the neighborhood for potential witnesses that may have information regarding this shooting. There were people inside of the residence that were detained and transported down to the Police Memorial Building to be interviewed to determine what details they can provide surrounding the shooting. We strongly encourage anyone with information that can assist us to please call the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office non-emergency number at 904-630-0500 or Crime Stoppers at 1-866-845-TIPS. They can also provide information online at jsocrimetips@jacksheriff.org. And I'll take any questions you may have at this time.
Do you know what the relation?
I can't hear you.
Do you know what the relation to the individuals inside the home was to the victim?
At this time, we have not been able to interview them yet, but what we can tell is it's probably the individuals inside of the residence, you know, that they were living together or something of that nature. Is what we can tell so far.
You know, if this was a house, an apartment.
It was a house, ma'am.
How many inside? And were any of those children?
Yes, you did have some young children inside of the residence. I think there were 2 to 3 to be exact. Children. We provided the children to some family members, loved ones that were on scene, that were able to remove them from the scene, and we've taken some folks downtown to be interviewed.
And then how many other adults?
Possibly 2 to 3.
Do we know where the person was shot?
That will be determined pending the autopsy. The medical examiner investigators will be arriving on scene, transporting him down for an autopsy this morning, and we'll be able to better identify that at that time.
But it was fatal?
Yes, ma'am, it
Do you know
was.
how many times that person was shot?
We have not been inside the crime scene yet. We're waiting for search warrants to be signed and evidence technicians to process up to that point, and then we'll be able to make that determination.
What was the age range for the victim?
I don't know at this time. We yet to identify him.
Any indication of either it being domestic or any sort of like home invasion type thing?
I couldn't tell you at this time. I can just tell you that there was no forced entry to the residence, which is making us believe it was probably people inside of the residence.
So do you think you might have, whether they're a suspect or a victim themselves,
And that's what
you may have the shooter in custody at least?
Well, the people who we believe are involved, we've detained. But once again, we're trying to just identify the details of that, and that won't be done until we are able to conduct interviews. It's so early in the investigation that, like I said, we'll be pushing out additional information through our PIOs at a later time this afternoon.
But to your best guess, there's not a shooter running around?
There's no one outside of the residence we believe may be responsible for this.
How long will Kingston Street remain closed or blacked out?
It's probably going to be, quite some time because, like I said, we're so very early in the investigation and we have our crime scene. It's a slow and methodical processing of the crime scene, so it's probably going to be shut down for quite some time. All righty? Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Take care.
Hey man, yo, good for my truck. See my shot.
Okay. Thank you.